So first of all, you need to find a place in which you could take over something turn 1. It's better to start receiving extra troops immediately, even if that's not a lot of troops, then go for a bigger hold which requires multiple turns for you to take, and then just simply find yourself in a weak position, because almost everyone else already got something. So always take a look at what your options are. Usually there should be at the very least one hold which you could take over. For example, I see a player could take over the Nordic Alps or Southeastern Europe by having to capture a few one-troop territories, but no, he still captures an Orient, for example. It takes multiple turns for him to take over it, and when he finally gets it, he's already toast. Another important aspect which shouldn't be neglected is the placement of other players' capitals. For example, you're one of the last players for turn order, and you see there are a lot of other players' capitals in one specific place of a board. Usually it could be some sort of an epic 1-1 hold, which other players thinking we cannot win without. But for example, if you see that, and then you cap in a place which got a lot of uncontested holds, you could easily and quickly expand and start receiving more troops than anybody else does on the board. Just generally, you want to be very greedy and expand very fast. If other players are playing passively and highly prioritize safety over expansion, then here's your chance to strike and take advantage into your hands. Then, tactical positioning, the whole map and situation layup. For example, you see there's a player who expands to holds behind you and he's not that strong yet, while you, yourself, keep receiving more troops, and maybe even a lot of troops. You need to think logically, what would this player do after he takes over these holds behind you? He won't really have options to attack any players other than you. Then it would make sense that he attacks you once he establishes position here, and especially if you get into a conflict with another player on the other part of the board or something like that. Then that player will get a perfect opportunity to attack you, or even in the best case scenario, what could happen is that player will just simply be passive and stalemate the game. And if you play aggressively, you do not want that. Also, the troop production. Take that into account as well. For example, let's say that 4 other players are either too slow to take holds, or maybe we get engaged into some sort of wars, into some sort of a conflicts, which make all of them to receive a small amount of troops each turn. But then, the 3rd player is only the other player after you who receives a lot of troops. Then you can attack that player first, ruin his position, and make sure to dominate the whole game only yourself. Also, don't let weak players survive. Some players might appear being weak and might only capture one easy territory a turn while holding nothing. But if you don't take care of that player, don't take over that player's capital while it's still easy, then that player will eventually have way too many troops on his capital, and then it will be way too hard to get rid of him. And then if you already got into a conflict with other players, that player will just watch the world burn, taking it easy, but then, when he finally gets the opportunity, he will start damaging you and prevent you from snowballing ever again. But again, look at the situation. If that player lets you hold a lot of stuff, and that would be better for you to strike other players first, then you can just obviously keep that player alive, and more working towards making you the only player on the board who keeps receiving a lot of troops. But keep in mind that the more players there are in the game, the more cards will be given fast, and the faster the set value becomes big, which could lead the game into a stalemate. So don't hesitate to get rid of a weaker player which is in your way, so that there would be fewer cards given away. Obviously, if some weak or even stronger players keep hitting each other, then let them hit each other. You want to keep the players in the game who don't like each other, as meanwhile while we fight, it's a good opportunity for you to snowball into uncontested holds, or maybe even steal some holds from another player which is not in a conflict with anybody else. Or if that would be good, to get rid of that player with position location wise, so for example you'd be able to shrink your borders. But for the most part, just make sure you have great opportunities to expand and be very greedy. If you want to snowball, you obviously want to be the player who receives the most troops each turn, and this is where greediness comes in handy. Fast progression, fast advancement leads you into a fast victory. Alright, so that was a completely different style of video that I usually do, guys. Let me know what do you think about it. If that's something you found entertaining or valuable, I could do more. Or if that's something that doesn't really stick to you, we can just simply call it an experiment. And that's basically it.